Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I just wanted to kind of share a rant with you all and some thoughts about something that's super valuable to me, both as a teacher, and I learned this professionally, and being able to notice this in other people that I'm conversing with. And it's kind of just a trait that could be helpful for you all to both look for and also analyze kind of yourself when you're talking about things, and just kind of make yourself more well-rounded as a person. Now, I will say before I get into the topic, this is mostly just my opinion, right? How I decide to live my life and how I think things should be approached. So you might see that differently, and if you do, that's totally fine. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying every single person should act a certain way, but these are just some, behavioral traits that I think are both appreciated by other people and that I try and do myself in the pursuit of kind of being as good of a person as I can be. So I figured I'll throw on some B-roll footage of training while I give this rant, and let's get at it. So the trait here is the ability to say, hey, I don't know something, or admit the lack of knowledge when someone asks you about a certain topic. A great example, and I learned this as a teacher, right? Whenever you have a group of students, as a teacher, you are kind of expected to have knowledge on whatever subject it is you're talking about. For me, usually it's earth science, maybe it's physics. The interesting thing with the earth science is we cover so many topics broadly that there are plenty of things down the rabbit hole in any given topic that I'm just bound to not know. And as someone who's building a repertoire with these students, or a working relationship to convey information, it's tempting to kind of fake it as you go. And maybe a student asks you a question and you don't really know, so you kind of BS an answer for them. And the problem with that is eventually you're bound to get caught. And by caught, usually it's a student who's done extensive amounts of research on that one thing, and they just know more about it than you. And oftentimes as young teachers, I think we get caught up in not being able to admit that a student knows something better than us. But what happens is they catch you in that lie, or that moment of being a false bravado, and you lose. There becomes a disconnect because they're like, whoa, wait a second, when are you BSing me at any given point? You lose that trust. And as a teacher, how you should really approach it, or at least how I found to approach it, is, just admit. If I have a student who asks me about, quasars, and I don't know something, I'm just going to be like, yeah, I don't know. Let's check that out. Let's look it up together and see if we can find an answer to that. And of course, some students, especially younger students, might kind of give you a side look. They're like, you're the teacher, you're supposed to know everything. But that's not how it works. And of course, that's not realistic. But by doing that, you're showing them that you're willing to admit that you don't know something. And that builds that layer of trust. Now, let's take that out of the context of the classroom for a second. You may see this in everyday life, or the gym, you can see it all the time there, or fitness influencers, such as on this channel. We have a tendency to talk about things. And if you have a person who tends to always try and convey a higher level of knowledge about any topic that you're talking about, that's usually when my red flag goes up. Now, sometimes there's people who have vast knowledge in many different subjects, and that's how it is. So just them knowing all of these topics doesn't tell me right away, hey, they're being a little deceptive in their speaking, but it tells me to listen a little more closely and give them the skeptical ear, so to speak, or not take everything at face value. And sometimes you'll have a conversation with someone, and if they have charisma or the good speaking ability to convey with confidence, you may be like along with them while they're talking to you, and then go look up a topic later because you're interested in it or you're curious, and find out that it was completely fabricated. And just because someone does that doesn't mean they're maliciously making it up, but maybe they heard one little tiny thing, and because of their speaking ability, they're trying to extrapolate it to make it look like they know a whole lot more than they do to make themselves look good. And that's kind of a common thing in the fitness industry as well. There tends to be fitness influencers or whoever who may just have good genetics. They happen to look good, or they happen to be strong, but they will imply that that's because they have a ton of training knowledge, and they get fitness clients that way. And that's another form of that deception. If you were to ask them, they would maybe try and show like they know more than they actually do, when a lot of it might come down to genetics. Now, I'm not saying everyone in the industry is like that, because there are certainly some darn smart people in the fitness industry, and they have worked extremely hard. But for every one person like that, okay, there's another person who has just crazy genetics. Maybe they're doing some drugs as well, and it makes it look like they know a lot more. My point is, you need to find someone who has crossover of the genetics and the smarts to truly find the great athletes usually. So hopefully that kind of conveys to you all this skeptical mindset that I think you should have. You're also talking to someone like me. Heck, I don't vote because I don't think I know enough in politics to be able to lay down a reasonable vote. And sure, that might be a flaw for me. A lot of people might say, hey, you should vote, that's your right as an American. It is what it is. But I would rather admit that I don't know enough and just not vote than still not know enough and go in to vote just because and make an uninformed choice, and that influence something down the line. I would rather people who are well informed control the path better than me. And that's what it comes down to. For me, I would rather admit what I don't know before faking it. And ultimately, it leads to a way more stress-free life if you're just like, hey, yeah, I don't know about that. And even if it's in your wheelhouse, like you all might ask me something about powerlifting, and sometimes I might just be like, yeah, I don't know, here's my best guess, but I will totally admit it. So there's kind of my rant. I think it's a superpower to be able to just say, I don't know, and admit to the people you're talking about when you don't know something. It also tends to be a quality that I look for in the people that I surround myself with. I really appreciate it. So that's about it. Let me know down below. Have you ever thought about this topic? Where do you kind of sit? I think there are times for all of us where we have to pull out that BS meter and figure out what's going on. But overall, I'm looking forward to hearing from you in the comments. Please like and subscribe. As always, I appreciate you all. We're over 500 subscribers, which is awesome. And until next time, happy lifting.